Hello there friends, Ian here, and welcome back to the channel. It's October, which means for some of us crazy writers, it's the month of Preptober, which is the month where those who are participating in Nanowrimo in November prepare their stories for the challenge ahead. That means that this week we will be talking about how to prepare for Nanowrimo. This video is a few weeks late, but that's because I got smacked in the mouth by a hurricane, which is not a fun thing to go through. Now, Nanowrimo is a very intensive experience, and that's why, in my opinion, it's best to prep at least a little bit, even if you're not like me and don't like preparing or outlining anything for yourself. Even if you are the opposite of me, I still think this video can help you some at all, and could give you some extra benefits when you're starting Nano for the first time. With that being said, let's get into it. So what is Nano? Well, Nano stands for National Novel Writing Month. During this month, your challenge is to write 50,000 words or more of a novel or any other sort of writing. The Nano website itself allows you to track word counts and do everything you need to do in order to keep track of it, except writing and planning it. To write 50,000 words in November on its own is about 1,667 words a day. And it's important to write every day or get ahead early so that you can complete it, because once you fall behind one day, it starts piling on and gets harder and harder, and eventually you're not going to be able to go any further. I have a couple tips for you to help you get ready for Nano this year. These tips are going to be simple. We're not going to go that deep into it in this video, and maybe not for the rest of the year. That's because Preptober is already half over, so there's not much time to get through other videos I was hoping to get through this year. Anyway, let's move on to the tips. Tip number one is to set up your workspace. What I mean by this is clean your desk, make your desk look nice, make your area workable. Personally, it's very difficult for me to work in a disorganized and dirty place. Every time my desk area gets any bit dirty, it makes my anxiety rise a little, which makes it more difficult for me to work or do things as I'm at my desk or other places that I might work, like outside on the porch. This might be the same for you, but if not, it might be something that's stopping you from working because everything on your desk or your work area distracts you or makes you anxious or anything like that. Even if you're not, it could be fun to just set up your desk how you'd like to. My next tip is to have the story you're writing decided at the very beginning of October or in November if you're not planning anything this month. There are different ways you can decide on a story to write. Sometimes it's just what you've been wanting to write for a long time. Other times you have multiple options and you have to decide which one of the few that you have that you can choose to write. And you can do that by selecting the theme you're most interested in, by selecting the story that makes you most excited to write. And that's because in November, you're going to want to be writing every day and not deciding on what story you'll write, because time will fly by and you'll be a few days behind before you start writing. These next few tips are going to be for if you are a planner or someone who likes to plan out what you're writing. What you're going to want to do is develop a detailed plot or outline. And you don't have to go into every single little scene if you don't want to. That's not what planning is for a lot of people. For me, that's how it is, but for you, it doesn't have to be. It can be just as intricate as you want it to be. It might even just be bullet points of the major plot points of your story and nothing else, and that is completely fine. However, how I do it is a bit more intricate. I like to first brainstorm, have a bunch of ideas set down a day or so before I start outlining, and this is just so you have a place to start. Having a place to start is better than not really knowing where you're going, at least for me. And then after that, I outline every major plot point in a 3-act story structure and then I outline chapters and scenes as I need to. Planning like this will give you an idea of where to go, and even if you don't usually outline, for something that happens this quickly, then it might be better to at least try to get some planning done in your plot, as the plot is what is most important in this specific challenge. The next tip is to create interesting characters. And I know I just said that plot is the most important part of Nanowrimo, especially if you're writing just the first draft, as characters and stuff don't usually mesh completely with your writing until the next few drafts after your first one. But characters are still important, because if you don't have the groundwork laid for characters, then you'll just be writing the same character over and over. The characters are, as I said in previous videos, the vessel of your story. The story happens through the characters, and the story is the characters and how they change. Next, you're going to want to build a world. Well, if you're writing a story that takes place on Earth in real life, you don't have to do any world building. The world building's already there for you, because, you know, we've been around for many thousands of years. However, if you're writing a fantasy setting or you're writing a sci-fi setting, you're going to want to world build. You're going to want to make the magic system, the religions, the country's governments, currencies, all these things to have your world happen in the background of your story. Finally, you're going to want to complete any research you need. And this is important because you don't want to be researching when November comes around, right? Because if you're going to be writing almost 2,000 words a day, then you won't really have time to do the research. Research could include sword fighting styles, martial arts. They could include different forms of art or different mythologies or anything like that. Just be sure that you complete your research before November rolls around, sometime during the month of October. And that's it. That's a short video on how I recommend you to start preparing for Nanowrimo in 2022. Comment below what your planning process is for Nano and how I can improve these videos for you in the future. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, as I post videos like this every Sunday, as long as there's no hurricanes that knock my power out. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next week. Bye!